Transformers the movie.
It's over, Prime.
Does Prime die? Transformers the movie, rated PG, now playing everywhere. Don't miss it.
We have a military attack to fight the Combaticons. Transform Combaticons and attack the new Autobot city.
Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Autobots, this is our new city, Metroplex. It can transform into a battle station and then transform again into the gigantic Metroplex himself.
But the Combaticons can combine to form Bruticus.
Decepticons attack! Transform Metroplex!
The Transformers.
The Transformers from Hasbro.
The year is 1985, and Hasbro is still cranking out the Scramble City Combiners. The Combaticons, being a set of 5 vehicles that are more military based, has a very nice color palette. This entire team really shows what Hasbro is capable of doing. The colors don't really blend in an odd way, and they also kind of bleed off into each other. Looking at Brawl, Brawl is a little tank, more or less a World War II type. He has a very nice aesthetic, lots of detail, rotating turret, and really looks cool for what he is. He also rolls very well. He's not too bad. Starting out with Brawl. Simple transformation. Pull up the turret. Separate the body. Flip out the legs. Flip down the chest. And then push down the arms. Brawl's aesthetic is really cool. With a nice chunky looking chest. He just looks like he would just be ready to just destroy any Autobot or anybody that stands in its way. Also, the turret on the back really is not that intrusive. You can also collapse it against the back of him a little bit if you don't like it. Moving on to Swindle. Swindle is a little Jeep. Although he's got a part in the center designed for a cannon to set, it really doesn't take away from the detail of this little Jeep. It's a very cool little vehicle, although it has more of a desert camo. He rolls extremely well. It is very well designed for this. As for Swindle, remove the gun, pull out on the legs, flip the legs out. They can go one at a time if you wish. Fold down the windshield, fold back the entire front of the car, be sure to close it all up against its back, pull out on each arm. Swindle's aesthetic is kind of cool. Although he might be the shortest of the group, he is also in charge of all the weapon arsenals. He's a very neat looking robot, and the back of the Jeep hanging off of him really doesn't take too much away from what he is. He's a very cool bot. Moving on to Vortex. Vortex is a Navy rescue chopper. He's a very cool looking helicopter with lots of detail and armament. The color itself is very well picked, although it does have purple. The purple really is not very intrusive. And he does roll. He has a moving blade on both ends. It's a very cool little helicopter. As for Vortex, you pull out the little gun, remove both guns from the back, if you have both, remove the prop, spin the entire engine portion around, grab the cockpit and separate it, flip out the legs, separate the rear portion, pull out individually, fold down the arms, turn and rotate the arms, then flip down the rear rotor bits, then reinstall the blade. As for Vortex's aesthetic, he has a very cool little stance. With the gigantic blade on the back, he looks like he can actually hover even in robot mode. I really like how everything on this robot tucks away, and you don't have these blades just sticking out in the way. Moving on to Blastoff. Blastoff is a military-colored space shuttle. If the military actually had a space shuttle, I believe this is exactly what it would look like. It has a very nice detail to it, and the panel lines really pop. He does roll. He does have rolling wheels, and he's very cool. As for Blastoff, you remove the two guns from the sides, pull out on the rear boosters, fold up the rear wing, fold up the side wings, separate the nose cone, pull out on the nose cones, fold down each side of the nose cone, rotate down the arms, and then rotate the tip of the nose. Blastoff's aesthetic is kind of cool. It's very chunky, but yet it doesn't have anything sticking out that actually stands in the way of its articulation. It doesn't have much articulation, but it is a very cool looking little space shuttle guy. I really like how everything just tucks away on this thing. Moving on to Onslaught. He is the real deal. He is a very, very large convoy truck. He's able to carry a lot of things on the back as well. Armed with these two gigantic cannons and the ability to split it at the trailer and truck for maneuverability, he's a very cool looking piece of work. The colors that are picked on this guy, very well picked out. And yes, he rolls extremely well. As for Onslaught, you remove his rear cannon, pull out on the trailer portion, separate the legs, straighten both bits, fold up the leg, separate the cab, pull down on the cab, then apply the chest piece. Push out the fists via the little slot, then reinstall the cannon. Onslaught is very, very cool. He has a very nice stance to him, and nothing really gets in the way with the alt mode. You do have ability to be able to place the cannons on the back of him, but if you don't want them there, they don't have to be. It really looks cool though. The peg slot on the back of his head, well, that'll come into a different video. But as for the nice chunky feet, helps him stand very well. He does have a lot of detail, not to mention the head actually has very, very, very decent paint apps, so that way it doesn't look like a sea of black. As for the entire team as a whole, this is an awesome set for anybody that is in love with the Decepticons. Anybody that really, really, really loves the Bruticus would love this thing. Of course, because it's G1. But all the colors, if you notice, blend into one another, including all the purple blends into the chest of Onslaught. The whole group is very, very well played out. Lots of detail. Things combine just fine on this set. And it is a really, really, really a nice addition for anybody who wants to complete their G1 combiners. Although they say that the entire team as a whole has problems because of the Scramble City aspect, I don't really find that as a true statement. But as for Onslaught, yes, Onslaught, he does have a third mode. Taking Onslaught, move his chest piece, push in the fists. Taking his legs, gonna push them up, and then slide them in. Same on the other side. I'm going to take both of his cab sections and push them up against the rest of the body. Then you're going to flip out the rear wheels. Then taking the peg on the back of this and placing it within that hole. As for Onslaught's third mode, it actually becomes a shuttle platform for blast-off. You can conveniently, if you wanted to, place the other guns into the smaller holes on the sides of him, but it really works very well for a launching platform for our little space shuttle friend. It has a lot of detail and it works very well. As for the transport mode, you can actually place any of the other Combaticons under the back of him. They roll off very well, and it's a cool little touch that Hasbro included. Although if you actually had the original G1, very first release of these guys, it actually had a launching mechanism. It's combination time. As for Onslaught, after removing the ramp, you want to flip up the legs, spin backward the arms, apply the chest piece, then plug on the head. Swindle's foot mode is fairly simple. First thing you'll do is collapse the legs, push in the arms, and apply the foot pad. As for Brawl, you're going to flip up the arms, flip back the legs, collapse the turret, and apply a foot pad. As for Blast Off, you're going to collapse the arms, and then you're going to peg the two halves of the nose cone back together, then push it all back, then flip up the peg, place a fist into one of the thrusters. For Vortex, you're going to flip up the arms, peg the two rear parts of the helicopter back together, flip up the tail fin, push the two halves back up against the body, flip out the peg, then apply a fist. Now combining these guys, it still deals with the Scramble City aspect, so peg heads, yeah, you have to deal with, but yet it's something you can look past. This is a very, very, very cool aesthetic for anybody that's into G1 or anybody that has never had these guys. It really enhances the playability. And arming him up, fairly simple. He does have other weapons, sadly, that I don't have, but it shows that he's very cool. He does scale very well, though, for anybody who has other Transformers in their collection. He has a very nice aesthetic with a rotating head, and yes, he can do kicks if you want. He does have some slight posability, but it's not really hampered much. And as for his stance, he just really has a nice, awesome stance. here displayed with Megatron, showing exactly how he would scale, although Megatron probably would be a little smaller. This entire set, though, as a whole, is one of those things that anybody that is a G1 collector should have, especially if you're into the Decepticons. The entire group is a must for anybody who would want an entire awesome arsenal in their collection. So I hope this was informative and it helped you guys out with your decisions in the future for purchasing anything that's Generation 1. Although the Creons, they're kind of cool in themselves.